Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is one of the most anticipated titles of the year. We met with Naughty Dog creative director Amy Hennig in the final weeks of production as Nathan Drake sets his sights on his next epic adventure. How has this journey been for you?
Well, it's been a long journey, and obviously, you say we're so close to the finish line, but it feels like we're just crawling our way toward it. So we just sort of improve right up to the last minute until somebody rips it out of our hands.
When you were working on the original game, did you already have an idea in mind for what you wanted to do for the sequel?
The main thing we knew is that we didn't want it to seem like it was Uncharted 1.5. And we wanted to say, well, what can we do that's going to upset people's expectations in a good way?
What's totally different?
Well, right, what's the opposite of, jungle? Well, the Himalayas and snow and Tibet, and saying, okay, well, whereas we really tried to get that jungle tech working last time, how can we get the snow tech and all the weather and the wind and the snow sticking to their clothes?
So speaking of a new direction then, where does the storyline pick up?
Well, it's like, we say a couple years after the first game, and we sort of left on a romantic note with Nate and Elena, but I've always said that he's probably a much better hero than he is a boyfriend.
I'm sensing some history here.
Elena Fisher, last year's model.
We pick up with him sort of back in his real life and get a peek into who this guy really is. Even though he's sort of a little bit of a shady character, he's also a modern day explorer at heart, and he's a lot smarter than his background would suggest, He's got a lot of natural cunning and historical smarts.
Is that so?
Speaking of the actors, you did something really unique with the motion capture for this game. You used the voice actors actually as the motion capture actors. How did that change things? How did that make the game better?
It makes all the difference in the world because you get all of those little overlaps and all those improvisations and the little reactions to each other.
He can't go any further.
We can't just leave him here to die.
I think a lot of it has to do with the authenticity that the actors bring to it, and you only get that by having them together on the stage.
When I figured out he was actually on to something, I thought you'd want to be in on the action.
This is a really ambitious project. What would you say is your biggest challenge?
By and large, it's just the fact that the game is just bigger and more ambitious. Just on the single-player aspects alone, it's a longer game than the previous single-player experience. The story itself, when I look at just the cutscenes, it's almost 100 minutes long worth of cutscenes versus less than an hour, I think, in the previous one, not counting all of the in-game storytelling that we're doing, even more so than in the previous game. On top of that, it's also got the whole multiplayer component. Included in the multiplayer component is a whole co-op component. It's like we've done 4 things. We've delivered a full-length movie, a single-player game, a multiplayer game, and a co-op game. And we just look at each other like, what the hell were we thinking?
And somehow you're still sane.
No.
With everything you're doing, I imagine that the audience expectations are probably weighing pretty heavily on you. Is that something you think about a lot? Do you take that into consideration?
People really loved the first game, and it's so gratifying, but it's a double-edged sword, to hear how much people, they love the characters, and they love the story, and they love the world, and they want to go back to it. So there's a certain amount of pressure to thinking, we don't want to let anybody down. It has to be the same world, the same characters, and be true to that, but be something new and unexpected as well. So it's always the risk of feeling like, we don't want to just faceplant on the second one because you kind of lost what was loved about the first one.
Amy, thank you so much for joining us here today and telling us about the game. I know you're really crunched for time right now, so we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's no problem. It's really a pleasure to talk about the game, and we're really proud of it. So it's fun to get to share some of this stuff with you guys.
I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Yeah, me too. That'll mean it's done.
Your quest is over?
Yeah, that's right.
What if it's only beginning?